My wife worked night shifts as a nurse. I believed her until a friend sent me a video of Velvet dancing under neon lights. She thought I'd break. Instead, I let her perform until the curtain fell. And walked out without a sound. Hey. I've been holding this in for way too long, and now that I'm finally free from the whole mess, I figured I'd tell someone. You ever feel like your life was one big lie wrapped up in soft smiles and coffee kisses? That was me. Or at least, it used to be. My wife, Jenna, had always told me she worked nights as a nurse. She had the whole thing down pat, scrubs neatly folded in the laundry, hospital ID clipped to her purse, and stories that made you think she was Florence Nightingale reincarnated. Night shifts, double shifts, picking up hours for co-workers. All of it. I was proud of her. Told my friends she was saving lives while I worked in IT, sitting behind screens. I used to joke that she had the real job between us. And when she'd come home at 7 in the morning, yawning and dropping her bag by the door, I'd make her breakfast. She'd tell me about a tough patient or some emergency they had overnight. I'd listen and think, man, how did I get so lucky? The first time I saw the cracks in the story, it wasn't anything obvious. No late-night phone calls or hidden receipts. It was just vibes, you know? A feeling. Like she was acting more cheerful coming home than someone who'd just been around emergencies and beeping machines all night. She'd still be wearing her scrubs, but there wasn't a single wrinkle in them. No stains, no hospital smell. I know that sounds weird, but hospitals have a smell. It's in the gloves, the antiseptics, the cafeteria food. Her uniform smelled like fabric softener and something sweeter like that vanilla mist I remember from her college days. Still, I ignored it. Because who wants to believe the person you love is lying to your face? Then one Friday night, I got a text from my buddy Caleb. He was at a bachelor party, one of those last-minute things. I was at home, finishing up some work emails when my phone buzzed. Yo. Tell me your wife has a twin. 'Cause I think I just saw her doing a routine in front of my coworker. I laughed. Thought it was a joke. Caleb loves to mess around. But then another message came in, this time with a video. It was shot from across a room, kind of shaky, but clear enough. The woman in the video had long black hair, that same tattoo on her left ribs that I kissed 100 times. She was wearing something different under flashing lights. Dancing, smiling, making eye contact with someone off camera. Then she turned around, and there was no mistaking it. It was Jenna. I just stared at the screen for a long time. My mouth was dry. My thoughts were loud and fuzzy all at once. My wife, the same woman who told me she was in triage with a broken arm patient, was across town entertaining a crowd under neon lights. My heart didn't even race. It just sank. I didn't call her. Didn't text. I just closed the video, stood up, and walked to the laundry room. Her scrubs were hanging on the rack, still damp from the wash. That same fake vanilla scent. That was the night something inside me shifted. But I didn't say a word. I just smiled the next morning when she came home, yawning like usual, and asked how her shift was. She said, exhausting. And I said, I bet. So, the next morning after I saw the video, she came home just like always. Same routine as scrubs on, shoes off at the door, a dramatic sigh like she'd just run a marathon. She looked me dead in the eyes and said, you would not believe how chaotic it was. We had a guy come in who tried to superglue a cut closed instead of going to the ER. Nurses are underpaid, I swear. And I smiled. I said, you're amazing. I meant it, too, just not the way she thought. I was amazed. Amazed at how easily she could look me in the face and feed me a story while the scent of club perfume lingered on her jacket. I didn't confront her. No yelling, no accusations. I wasn't ready for that, not yet. See, some people want justice. I wanted clarity. I wanted to know how deep the hole went before I started filling it. That night, I called in sick to work. I told her I'd caught a bug, that I'd be working from the couch. She seemed a little thrown off, but played it cool. You're always pushing yourself, she said, stroking my hair. Maybe this is the universe telling you to rest. I smiled again. She kissed my forehead and left just before 7 p.m., like always. I waited a full 30 minutes, then grabbed my jacket and keys. I already knew where she'd be. Caleb had sent me the name of the place, the Gilded Room. I parked across the street and watched from my car. Guys in button-ups lined up outside, laughing, drunk before even getting through the door. No sign of her at first. Then I saw her, Jenna, but not Jenna. She walked past the line, nodded at the bouncer, and disappeared inside like she owned the place. Hair down, makeup sharper, taller than usual from heels. And the outfit? Definitely not hospital approved. She even walked different. Not the tired shuffle of a nurse after a long shift. This was confidence. Theater. I waited another 10 minutes, then walked in. Low lights. Music thumping through the walls like a heartbeat. I kept to the back. Didn't want to be seen. Not by her. Not by anyone. I just needed to see. Then the host stepped on stage, and the mic crackled. Give it up for Velvet. Spotlights. Applause. And there she was. Velvet. Same eyes that looked at me every morning. Same laugh. But now she was smiling for strangers, smiling in a way I'd never seen at home. Like this was the real her and I was just the background. I didn't stay for the whole act. I saw enough. Back in the car, I just sat in silence. It wasn't even the dancing. It wasn't the club. It wasn't the name Velvet stitched in rhinestones on her outfit. It was the look in her eyes. Not guilty. Not hesitant. Free. That's when I realized this wasn't just a side gig. It wasn't some phase. She chose this. She chose a world I didn't exist in. And she was thriving. I drove home before she finished her shift. Got back in bed. Pretended to be asleep when she walked in at dawn. She leaned over and kissed me on the cheek. You feeling better? She whispered. I mumbled something and rolled over. I wasn't better. But I was awake now. And I had a plan. The next morning, I woke up before her. She'd already gotten off shift, dropped her bag by the door like always, and curled up on the couch with a blanket. That was her post-hospital routine: exhaustion, toast with jam, and a half-watched episode of something she'd pretend to follow. Safe, comfortable lies. I made her coffee. Just like I always did. She smiled at me like nothing in the world had changed. And I smiled back, even warmer. Because I wasn't going to confront her yet. No. I wanted to know everything. I wanted to see just how much of my life had been a stage play, and how long she thought she could keep performing. I spent the next week doing what she never imagined I would, paying attention. Not to the version of her she presented, but to the details. The laundry, for one. Her scrubs were always just a little too clean. Like they came straight from a prop closet, not a night in an emergency room. So one morning while she slept, I checked her bag. The hospital ID? Fake. Not a good fake either, just enough to fool someone who didn't work in healthcare. The name badge didn't even have a barcode. No signs of wear. The hospital logo was outdated. I looked it up. That hospital hadn't used that branding in years. The stethoscope? Toy grade. A prop. I tried it. It didn't even transmit sound. So I dug deeper. Started checking her phone, not reading her messages, just noting the patterns. She always put it on Do Not Disturb overnight. Said the alerts kept her up. But I knew better now. Next time she was in the shower, I mirrored her screen to my tablet. Quietly. I didn't read anything at first. Just watched the notifications roll in. Messages from contacts with saved names like Sky, Lara Club, Zane Security. All timestamped between 7 p.m. and 3 a.m. Every night she worked her shift, the screen lit up like a Christmas tree. That's when I knew this was her real life. I'd just been the placeholder. The sponsor. The cover story with a mortgage and a reliable car. But I wasn't mad. Not yet. See, anger would have given her power. Anger would have led to a confrontation, and in a confrontation, she might twist it. Cry. Blame stress, money, identity. All the usual excuses. She'd rewrite the truth in real time and expect me to believe it. No, I wanted the truth. On paper. In pictures. In witnesses. So I called a friend of mine. One of my oldest buddies, Evan. Works in private security now. Told him I needed help tracking something discreetly. He asked, "You sure you want to know?" And I said, "I already do. I just need the receipts." He started the next night. Meanwhile, I played the role of husband of the year. I cooked dinner. I rubbed her shoulders. I told her how proud I was of her work. I even suggested we take a trip when her next schedule lightened up. She hugged me tight. "That sounds amazing," she whispered. It did sound amazing. Except the trip I was planning didn't involve her. It involved freedom. And closure. And the long overdue fall of a carefully polished act. Because while she was out there dancing under a stage name, laughing with men whose names she couldn't remember, I was building a case. I was stacking facts like firewood. And when it came time to light the match, I wanted the whole thing to burn. 3 days after I gave Evan the green light, he sent me the first batch of updates. A manila envelope, delivered discreetly to my office. Inside? Photos. Not grainy, not rushed. Clean shots, timestamped. Her entering the gilded room from the staff entrance. Her laughing with the DJ outside on a smoke break. Her walking to a late-night diner with two other girls in sparkly dresses at 3:42 a.m., definitely not nurses. Then, there was the schedule. Evan had matched her shifts to the club's private event calendar. Every Thursday through Sunday, from 7 p.m. to 2 a.m., Velvet was on the rotation. I even saw her listed in a digital flyer, her name in cursive over a glittery background. Velvet, back by popular demand. Cute. I stared at that photo for a while. It hit me in a strange way, not like heartbreak, but like standing too close to a bonfire and realizing you don't feel the heat anymore. I'd spent so long thinking she was one kind of person that by the time I saw the truth, it felt distant. Like she was already gone. Like maybe she'd been gone a long time. That night, she came home with a bag of takeout and plopped down on the couch. I brought pho, she said. You looked tired. She was glowing. Energized. Like she'd just won something. You're sweet, I told her. She kissed me and went to shower. I sat at the table with the envelope open, papers spread in front of me. Half her life, documented in black and white. And she had no clue. But I still didn't confront her. I wasn't interested in screaming or accusations. I wanted the final act. The next morning, I scheduled appointments with a financial advisor and a lawyer, both highly recommended by Evan's contacts. I didn't tell them everything, just enough: suspected financial infidelity, dual lifestyle, concern over hidden spending. They were professional. Efficient. Sharp. The lawyer nodded slowly and said, start collecting financials now. Anything in both your names. Especially anything she handles herself. So that's what I did. She'd always volunteered to handle the budgeting, said it gave her a sense of control. I was fine with it. I trusted her. I worked long hours and didn't want to think about grocery bills or water usage. But now? Now I went through every statement like a detective on his last case. Club makeup expenses listed as pharmacy purchases. Ride-sharing receipts listed under random apps. Transfers to an unfamiliar checking account that was definitely not joint. Small, consistent withdrawals, nothing loud enough to notice in real time. But over 6 months? Thousands. She'd been building an exit. A quiet little parachute with my money. Each night, I'd cook. We'd eat. I'd ask about her patients, and she'd make up wild, hospital-themed stories that would have been funny if they weren't so insulting. And I'd smile. Take mental notes. Ask little questions to see how deep the illusion ran. She never flinched. She thought she was untouchable. That's the most dangerous kind of liar, the one who thinks you'll never leave, because you never have. But what she didn't know was this. I was already gone. I'd already packed, emotionally. The only thing left was paperwork. And soon, I'd have that too. The night I got the bank documents printed, something strange happened. She got home early. It was a Thursday, one of her hospital nights, and I was halfway through scanning statements when I heard the key turn in the lock. I barely had time to close the laptop before she stepped into the room, flipping the light switch like it was any other night. Hey, she said casually. Power outage downtown. The shift got cut short. I smiled. Weird. No notice? She shook her head. Happened right as I got in. Whole wing lost backup too. Total chaos. That was a test. She was lying, obviously. I'd just gotten a photo from Evan 15 minutes earlier. She was at a smoothie bar down the street from the Gilded Room, laughing with a guy in a hat and gold chain. I played it cool. That sounds intense, I said. Did you still get paid? She paused a beat too long. Yeah. I think so. It wasn't just the lie. It was how easily she reached for one. Like pressing a button. No hesitation. No twitch. But here's the thing, when someone lies to you that easily, it stops hurting. At some point, you stop taking it personal and start treating it like intel. Like you're building a map. And her map had one destination, out. So I started preparing for mine. That weekend, I backed up every file. Passwords, accounts, loan agreements. I opened a new bank account and redirected my salary. Quietly separated utilities. My name off hers. Hers off mine. All under the radar. And I did it while she danced in neon lights for people who didn't know her name 2 hours later. That was the part that always got me. Not the job itself. Not the secrecy. But the effort she spent being someone else, while I sat at home believing she was saving lives. Ironic, right? Because by the time she realized the house of cards was falling, it would be too late. She once told me, trust is everything in a marriage. And I agreed. That's why I decided she'd never see it coming. Because she trusted me to stay blind. By now, everything was in place. The new accounts. The legal strategy. My exit plan. And still, I smiled through it all. That Saturday morning, she made pancakes. Said she was off for the weekend, something about an admin shift being covered. She danced around the kitchen barefoot, humming to herself like she had nothing to hide. I sipped coffee and watched her move. The perfect act. Natural, fluid, believable. But now I saw it for what it was, a performance. And the mask, once invisible, looked cartoonish to me. She caught me staring. What? She asked, smiling. Just thinking how lucky I am, I said. She grinned, kissed my cheek, and went to grab more syrup. What she didn't know was that the man sitting at the table wasn't the same man from a month ago. The one she thought she had wrapped around her finger had already left the building. The man across from her now was methodical. Calm. Cold, if I'm being honest. That evening, I set the final plan in motion. I contacted the lawyer and gave him the green light. We were ready. Every document Jenna ever signed, every dollar she rerouted, every night she said she was elbow deep in emergencies, it was all documented. We didn't even need private investigators anymore. She'd left digital fingerprints on everything. I had also discovered the Real Gem, a separate business account under the name Velvet & Company registered just a few months earlier. Guess what it was tied to? Tips. Appearance fees. Private event deposits. All of it had been deposited there quietly, a few hundred at a time. Small enough to avoid suspicion. Big enough to matter. She wasn't just dancing. She was building a future without me, on my dime, in my home, using my faith in her as cover. I'd have respected the hustle if it wasn't happening behind my back. The next day was Sunday, our together day. We went grocery shopping. Took a walk through the park. Talked about a road trip she wanted to take after things settle at the hospital. I nodded through it all. That night, I cooked dinner. Her favorite, salmon with garlic butter and roasted potatoes. I even opened a bottle of wine we'd been saving since our anniversary. To her, it was a perfect evening. To me, it was the last page in a chapter she didn't know was ending. As we cleared the table, I asked if she'd sit down with me for a bit. Said I wanted to talk about our future, maybe kids, buying a cabin, all the stuff we used to dream about. She lit up. You've been so distant lately, she said. It feels good to talk again. I agreed. It did feel good. Just not in the way she thought. That night, while she slept peacefully beside me, I scheduled the delivery for the next morning. An envelope. Neatly prepared. Addressed to her. Inside, legal documents, full bank records, and a summary of every lie I had quietly unraveled. No rage. No threats. No insults. Just truth. Signed, sealed, delivered. The next morning, I left early. Didn't say goodbye. Just packed a bag and drove to a rental place I'd already set up a week prior. When she woke up, she'd be alone. For the first time in a long time. And waiting on the kitchen counter? The envelope. The one that said, I hope the real shift was worth it. M. The first message came in at 7:48 a.m. Where are you? The second, just 3 minutes later. What is this? By 8:10, my phone was lighting up nonstop. Calls, texts, voicemails. Her voice, shaky at first, then full of panic. I didn't answer a single one. I just watched it unfold from the piece of a small cabin 2 towns away, the one I'd prepaid 3 months in advance. She had opened the envelope. She had read everything. Every account. Every lie. Every late-night deposit she thought went unnoticed. The statements. The photos. The screenshots. Her double life had been neatly folded, labeled, and dropped on the table like discharge papers. At 9:02 a.m., the call stopped. Silence. That was the loudest part. Later that day, my lawyer called. Said Jenna's legal rep had already reached out. No denial. No questions. Just stunned silence followed by a single request. Can we talk privately? I said no. See, that was the thing. All those years, I let her set the rhythm. She decided what was said, when it was said, and how it was wrapped in just the right expression. She controlled the narrative. But not anymore. Now I was setting the terms. By the end of the week, everything was in motion: separation of property, dissolution of marriage, formal filing of financial misconduct through civil channels. No criminal case. I didn't want to destroy her. That's never what this was about. It was about truth. About ending the performance. She sent a message 3 days later. The tone was different now. No caps. No drama. Just 5 words. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't reply. What was left to say? I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I'd gone past that point. What I felt was stillness. Like I'd walked out of a fog and could finally see the landscape. And yes, it was scorched. Yes, there was damage. But it was mine. I stayed in that cabin for another week. Caught up on sleep. Watched the sunrise without thinking about who was lying next to me. No deception. No second life in the shadows. Just quiet. One night, I walked to the edge of the woods and sat under the stars, and I actually laughed. Not a bitter laugh, just a real, honest breath of air that had waited too long to come out. She thought I'd never wake up. She thought I'd fall apart when I found out. But I didn't fall. I walked away. Without slamming a door. Without burning everything down. And that's what really broke her. Because people like her, they expect chaos. But I gave her silence. And sometimes, silence is louder than anything else.